Hello, I'm John Hemingway. Welcome back to Shropshire. Now, a question that I'm being asked quite often at the moment is, have you seen much Schmallenberg about this year? And the answer to that is no, basically none. Nor did I expect to. And I can say that with reasonable confidence because of the part of the country that I live in. And I'll explain why that's relevant in a minute. But for now, stick with me and I will talk about what's going on nationally with regard to Schmallenberg this year and what we can reasonably expect to happen next year. So, Schmallenberg virus, you will know about it already. This is a viral disease and it spreads from ruminant to ruminant via a midge, the same midge that spreads blue tongue. It can't spread directly from animal to animal without that midge. It's what we call a vector-borne disease. That midge is the vector. Now, the effect that it has on the animal depends on when it was infected. If an animal gets infected with Schmallenberg outside of pregnancy, then it will become immune and it will have no ill effects at all. In sheep, infection during the first month of pregnancy is most likely to result in that animal losing the embryos, early embryonic death, and that will manifest as a poor scanning result when you come to scan. Infection in the second month of pregnancy is when we're at risk of getting those deformed animals that you've seen. We're talking about deformed joints, twisted spines, undershot jaws, and all range of neurological deficits as well, which are essentially deformities that are formed in the brain and the spinal cord. Infection in the remaining 3 months of pregnancy carries a lower risk of issues. So let's now have a look at what the situation is at the moment. And to start with, let's look at what happened last year. Now, this is government APHA data. It's freely available for anybody to look at on the APHA surveillance dashboard. Now, these are the counties on the map where we had Schmallenberg definitively diagnosed in sheep in the 2024 lambing season. That is last spring. Central and southern England were particularly badly affected there. Now let's scroll forward to this year at the counties where we've had definitively diagnosed cases of Schmallenberg this lambing season, and you will see that there is a pattern. The counties where we've seen issues this year are on the periphery of the area where we saw issues last year. So why has that happened? Well, what we know about Schmallenberg virus is that once an animal has had it, it is immune for life. So when we have an area which is particularly badly affected, like Central England and Southern England were last year, they get what we call herd immunity. I know we don't talk about herds of sheep, but that is the term that's used, so we just got to go with it. So we have protection in those areas against the virus. And so it follows that the areas that we've seen affected this time round in lambing are on the edge of that area of herd immunity. So what do we mean exactly when we talk about herd immunity? Well, we mean that enough animals in a given population are immune to a disease that disease is not able to sustain itself in that population anymore. Take a look at this picture. All these dots are sheep. The blue dots are sheep that had Schmallenberg last year and they have got antibodies, they're immune. The yellow dots are ones that are naive, they haven't come across Schmallenberg. Maybe they are ewe lamb replacements from last year, maybe they're just animals that weren't infected. Here comes an infected midge in red. Now that midge is going to try and infect the animals by biting them. It can't infect the blue sheep, they're immune. It can only infect that one yellow sheep. That's fine, it's infected one animal. Then another midge bites that yellow sheep, now turned orange, and wants to spread the disease on. But all the sheep that it goes and bites are already immune, and so there aren't enough yellow sheep to sustain that chain of infection that's needed to keep the virus in that population. So what will happen next year? Well, I think it's a reasonable assumption to say that those areas that were badly affected this year will be added to the area where we can say we've got a good level of herd immunity. The next question, of course, will be, well, how long does this protection last? The protection in an individual animal lasts for as long as it lives. So the question is, how long is it before you've replaced enough of your blue sheep with yellow replacement sheep, and the virus, if it's blown across, can begin to circulate and cause issues? Well, have a look at this graph from APHA showing Schmallenberg cases per year. We had our first UK outbreak in the spring of 2012. We then had a 5-year gap and another outbreak in 2017. I'll then bolt together the cases from 2024 and 2025, stick them on there, and we see we've had a 7-year gap. And it would make sense with an average 20% replacement rate that it would take 5 years for your flock to go from being mostly blue sheep to mostly yellow sheep. So based on the data we've got from the last 3 outbreaks, as well as our knowledge of this disease, I would suggest that the majority of the UK is unlikely to see an issue with this disease in the next couple of years. And I assume that is the answer that you wanted. That's it from me for this video. I hope that was useful and that it was a good overview of what's happening with Schmallenberg at the moment. I'll be along with another video very soon, and I do hope to see you there. Bye.